Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Really helps the channel out. We're absolutely churning through. We're trying to get to 5k ASAP. So if you could do that for me, a lot of you aren't even subscribed. 53% of you aren't actually subscribed. So it takes 2 seconds. Hit that link in the description to subscribe. Make sure you turn the notification bell on. And if you want to become a member of the channel, first link is in the description to that. Click that. Cup of coffee, you help the channel out. Lots of wonderful things starting for that as we convert this into a studio. So stay tuned, special guests. We're going to have a couch, we're going to have all sorts. It's going to be schmick. So we're here today to talk about the first week of pre-season football. Is finally back, something tangible, something to hold, something to physically feel. It's going to be very exciting. And let's get straight into it. So the first game we're going to be looking at is obviously on the 18th of February. Melbourne versus Richmond at Casey Fields. And this is a really intriguing game because it's two sides that are suspected to be at the opposite ends of the spectrum. Obviously, Richmond have a new coach coming in. Melbourne have been in the news for all the wrong reasons. What are the stories that we're looking at this? Well, for Melbourne, the first thing we're going to be looking at really is Trent Rivers and Bailey Laurie. Both of these have been really picked out. Really been picked out in pre-season, and Bailey Laurie is definitely going to get his opportunities really because of the Clayton Oliver ifs, buts, maybes question. And by all reports in the training match sim, Bailey Laurie and Trent Rivers were two players that really stood out. It's going to be really interesting with Trent Rivers because he's incredibly talented. He's going to be a player that I'm really looking at in the terms of can he take that next leap and become in the echelon of solid, very good AFL players. I always feel that these preseason games, although they don't tell us much about what's going on, they do tell us quite a lot about what may be, if you know what I mean. And I think this is going to be a really interesting little game in the terms of there's a lot of questions about both of these sides. It's going to be interesting, I think, how they'll react because Melbourne have been in the papers for all the wrong reasons. Now, over at the other end, you've got Richmond, and Richmond have been a very interesting one for me because obviously the new coach has come in. They're playing a lot more of a direct game style by reports, a very kick-heavy game style. And a few people have been saying that in their match sim, it looks different in the terms of the personnel. Mansell is one that has stood out in the preseason. I'm very interested in that because they're in a very transitional period, Richmond. So I'm going to be looking at players like Thompson Dow, James Trezise, and obviously Mansell about what does this bring? Because when you look at what if they're going to play a more longer game, that should really tell us a lot more about how their tolls work. Obviously, you're going to see Kaczynski play, and that's going to be really exciting for me because I feel like a quicker, longer game style is going to suit players like Jacob. That could be interesting. We know Noah Bolter was played a lot in the forward line as well, so that's going to be definitely something that I'm looking at in the terms of match simulation there to see what goes down and how that works because for me, that's going to be a very interesting one. The next game we're going to feature is on the 21st, North Melbourne versus Collingwood. And North Melbourne, there is a lot of questions, isn't there, about North? Are they going to be bad? Are they going to be good? It's going to be interesting, I think. They've also got a new backline duo. You've got Toby Pink down there, who's probably got the best name in the world. But the players that I'm really looking at here for North, players like Colby McCurcher, I'm really excited about seeing what he brings. For me, I thought he was the standout pick one. When I say standout pick one, I mean the safe pick one. That is definitely something that I am looking at and looking forward to getting my teeth into to watch how that goes. It's going to be an interesting little game, I feel that. When you watch Colby play, he's ready-made for AFL in the terms of what he's already doing is basically what you would be doing if you are a draftee, first-year player. I'm looking at Cam Zurhaar as well. Already we're at that early stage where people are going to be toing and froing about what they're doing at the end of the season. Cam Zurhaar is one of them names for me when he's come out and said that he's not here just to play games. He wants to play in big games. Cam Zurhaar could be that one at the Roos do bomb. Teams are going to definitely look out for and make some trade offers for. I feel like this is the year for Cam Zurhaar to go to the next level and really cement himself. He's got kind of a senior position there now. He's been there. He's done it. And I feel for me that that is very important. And I can't wait to see it. The other team we're going to look at is obviously their rivals in this game, Collingwood. And for me, already, early doors, the biggest signing is Lachie Schultz. I am really looking forward to seeing that. Obviously, when you look at what Collingwood have done from last year, he effectively is replacing the experiment of Taylor Adams in the forward line. Now, we know Lachie Schultz is, for me, one of the best players in the league at what he does. Adding that to what Collingwood already do, I feel like that is a very dangerous proposition. We know Joe Richards, Bo McCreary, Bobby Hill have all been really held high in what their training has been. And Chew Jiaf had some really good moments by all reports. So I'm really excited to see how these, I wouldn't say lesser names, but the next wave, Joel Richards, Chew Jiaf, Lachie Schultz, who is a new name to that, how that cements it. Because the big thing for me is when you look at Collingwood, they have got great depth. I don't care what anyone says. It's very strong. The other one that I want to look at as well is how do they negate Dan McStay? He's been in and out injured last year. They managed to get around it. I think it's going to be very interesting. We know Reeve McInnes has played that role, playing a little bit smaller, but I think that suits Collingwood. I don't think Collingwood have not had a traditional toll for what feels like a millennia. So I feel like it's going to be a very interesting one. That I want to see how Collingwood are prepared to defend their title, because obviously everyone is going to be on their case and really, really looking to knock them off. On next, we've got Sydney versus GWS, and these are two teams that I feel haven't really had the talk that you would expect. And Matty Roberts has been a big talking point in the terms of his transition down to half-back. And I feel like that could be a really interesting one. When I look at Sydney, I feel like Sydney have got the list to really win this one. And Matt Roberts, for me, looking at his state league success, I feel like this could be a big thing. His ability to break lines, but also his ability to play big and small. I'm really interested to see how that looks. And we've heard Isaac Heaney has spent almost all of his time in the midfield. That adds them a bit of creative and dynamic. But the guy that I'm really excited about here is Brodie Grundy. For me, I feel like he's coming back to where he needs to be. And when you've got that midfield of the players they've got, Chad Warner, Errol Goulden, James Jordan being out wide, Isaac Heaney now pinch hitting there, I feel like they've got the tools. They've got the tools. Obviously, Callum Mills missing. Feel like that creates an opportunity there for someone to really kick on. And I'm really excited to see how that looks in the Sydney midfield. I feel like Sydney are going to be the dark horse of this tournament, as no one is talking about them enough for my liking. And then we've obviously got the GWS on the other side, and they were the success story of last year, weren't they? And that is something that I'm looking for. Adam Kennedy has been out for, what is it? It's something like another 4 or 5 months. So that really opens up the door there. Callum Brown is someone that I'm really looking forward to seeing. I feel like he's subject to go to the next level this year. And I feel like that Adam Kingsley has definitely got some question marks here. When you have a very good first year, and not many people raved last year about GWS before, I think that this is going to be very interesting in the terms of the pressure's on now. No one is excited. And no one's going to be surprised. And I'm looking to see players like Finn Callahan and players like that really step up, because now they've got a little bit of a target on their back in the terms of teams are going to be knowing what they're going to do. This is a really intriguing game because both of these sides I had in the 8, and I'm really looking forward to this game because although it is a pre-season game, we're going to get a feel about positioning and where players are, and if there's any massive tweaks, we can maybe start to dissect what it is. This is a really intriguing game and probably for me the tie of the round. Then it's my boys Carlton versus Geelong, and I feel like this game here has a lot of question marks about it because both sides have questions. Geelong disappointing last year. Carlton probably over-exceeded most people's expectations of them. And there's been a lot of talk in Carlton about Mitchie McGovern, and I'm really excited to see that he's had a full pre-season. He looks fit. He looks healthy. I feel like this is his goal year. This is his payback year. We know how good he is, and I'm looking for transition from Carlton. Zach Williams being in there now, Mitch McGovern being in there now. No Whittaker in, so Marchbank and Kemp will definitely be vying for that role alongside Durden and Mr. Forgotten about Lewis Young. But I feel like Marchbank, Kemp and McGovern can alternate in that position. And that is transition football. I am looking forward to that. Billy Wilson has heavily been touted for an early start. And from his pre-season games that I went to in the training, incredibly quick, incredibly smart, incredibly rambustious. And that could be a POD for Carlton in the midfield, where obviously at times Carlton are accused of being one-paced. Geelong, for me, are another team that I am excited about seeing. Horrific injuries last year. They couldn't quite get going. People are saying the dream is over, but I don't feel like it is. I feel like this is going to be it. A lot of talk has been talked about Tom Stewart moving into the midfield at times. I feel like that could be an exciting proposition. We know Cam Guthrie and Jack Henry have been in the extended pre-season and gained the match fitness. That could be it. And Sean Manor from Werribee, their mature age recruit in the draft, has really been touted as playing it. I feel like this could be really interesting because we know that Connor O'Sullivan there has been playing variety of position in training. Tom Stewart going to the midfield. We know that Geelong like this variety in what they do. So this is going to be really intriguing for me because I feel like Geelong have got the list. I don't feel like Geelong are going to be knocked down. I am looking forward to seeing what this could be. I feel like they've got a lot of talent. They've got some young players there, some new faces, which gives just a little bit of a dimension to them. I think this could be a very, very, very intriguing game because you're going to see a lot about two sides where they've made a lot of column minutes in the last couple of weeks. I'm really excited about this game, and it's always going to be nice to see the Blues play at Icon Park. Up next, Brisbane versus Gold Coast, and again, two teams really talked about in the pre-season, and they always are. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here because Brisbane, for me, definitely are one of the standouts, one of the guys that we're talking about to win this. And not much has changed for Brisbane, has it really? It's the same old, same old. I am looking forward to seeing what Tom Doedee does. I don't expect he'll play here, but they are saying that he'll play early season. Will we get some shrewd minutes? You don't know, but I am looking forward to seeing Hugh McCluggage and Berry continue their resurgence. Hugh McCluggage, for me, the most underrated player. And again, one eye on free agency. Teams will be looking at him. Another player that I'm really excited about here, who I thought had a very strong mid to end last year, is Cam Rayner. Very excited to see if Brisbane can add that dimension. There is something missing, and it's hard to put your finger on what they're missing. But that being said, they are going to be there or thereabouts. They're very, very closer. And usually when teams get this close to perfection, only two things happen. They either succeed or they cataclysmically fail. I don't think that will happen with Brisbane, but I am excited about seeing what happens. Gold Coast then, dimmer there. And it's been interesting. There's been a lot of reports about Alex Davis, their Gold Coast Suns Academy, and it's been all focused on transition. And that is going to be interesting because Alex Davies is more of a rambustious inside midfielder. And if you look at how they play, Richmond in their prime, they have players like that. Ben Ainsworth is an interesting one for me as well because he is very deadly and very dangerous and someone that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And Tuck Miller as well. It's going to be a very quick backline to midfield, and that's how Richmond play. They pressure and then they get the ball forward. So I feel like players like Alex Davis and Ben Ainsworth, that really suits them. They like quick ball. They like scrimmages. They like to get the ball out quickly. It's going to be a very interesting style because it's a big change from what Dewey played. Looking at their midfield as well, watching Rowell and Anderson, that is going to be exciting. A lot is going to be expected of them to get the ball and get it moving very quickly, which I feel is their strength. It's going to be very, very intriguing to see because there's been a lot of talk about their work around stoppage, but also their work around transition. being a lot more direct and hitting the corridor, which we know the Richmond of old did. I feel like this is a big game here because Gold Coast are that team. No one really can say with a degree of certainty if they're going to get better other than the fact Dimmer's there. And I think he's got a big job to do because I like their list, feel like it's underperformed. So it's going to be interesting if Dimmer can instill that confidence, which is so important, and put on a good show at the Brighton's home arena. Then Friday, 23rd, we've got the Doggies versus Hawthorn. And this is going to be a really interesting game here because the Western Bulldogs, I feel, are that team that I think could be a big change. Big change. Now, the talks about the players that are here. Caleb Marchbank pinch hitting the forward. Bailey Dale being forward. Ed Richards has gone on the ball. Obviously, they're looking for rotations, right? Rotations. And Riley Sanders has really stood out as well. And I like Riley Sanders. His ability to play football, his ability to be hard at the ball, but also have a little bit of calmness and collection. I think he could be a smoky for very early doors. We saw Darcy, he kicked a few goals and then matched him, which I think is going to be very intriguing. That forward line combination, they have so much talent, they've got to nail it down. And I feel like that's going to be something that I'm really looking at here. The Dogs, I felt at times, were very wasteful with all their talent. And hearing Aaron Norton playing far up the field, according to David King, I feel like that could be a very intriguing thing of trying to fit all that talent in. I'm very intrigued to see what the Doggies do because they're one of the teams that I feel like could drop out of the 8, and I don't think Beveridge will be there next year. So they are a team that I'm definitely looking at and looking forward to seeing what we see early doors from them. Up next, we've got Hawthorn, their rivals in this game. And CJ going on the wing, for me, is genius. It's definitely something they needed to change. And I think that's his better position. He needs to be near the ball and get the game moving forward. Very interesting now that they've suddenly brought in some very talented players. They've got Nick Watson, they've got Ginny, they've got all these players in the forward line. They've obviously got Dylan Moore, you've got Luke Bruce, and you've got Gunston. This forward line here now is suddenly potent, and I'm going to be very intrigued to see what happens. There was talk Blake Hardwick played forward, which I think then says to me forward pressure is going to definitely be the paramount of this and locking it in and creating repeat inside 50s. If Hawthorn can do this, mid-table, possibly the 8, could be there because I feel like back to middle, their ball movement is very good. My one issue last year was it felt like it was very easy to get it out of your own back half of the ground. This could be very intriguing, I feel, because Gunston suddenly adds that maturity there along with Bruce. Dylan Moore, for me, is an incredibly talented player. And then seeing the development of players like Connor McDonald, Cam McKenzie and Bailey McDonald, who has got that zip off halfback where he's been playing, suddenly you've got a little bit of a dangerous system here. Hawthorn are definitely one side to watch. I'm very hot on them, as I was last year. St Kilda versus Essendon. This is going to be, for me, a game that has a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Liam Henry being the big one for St Kilda, in my opinion, is going to be the big one because they have a lot of players like Liam Henry, but are they as good as Liam Henry at his pomp and circumstance? This wing rotation now has suddenly become one of the most deadly. And when you think Mr. Hill, Wangley Milwera and Henry, that's dangerous. That is very dangerous. And that is what I'm looking forward to. Then you've also got Darcy Wilson, who has been playing a lot of halfback with his incredible speed. Suddenly, they have got the tools now to play a game style that we've never seen Ross the Boss play. And that is what I'm thinking. You've got Max King there up forward. We know Isaac Keeler, one of my boys, Max Heath, stood out in pre-season. Mateus Philippou, he's definitely been very is that link player, that conduit. If the ball moves faster, Mateus is going to hit targets. And if he's hitting targets like Max King and Isaac Keeler, who I feel like he's a better player than Max Heath, suddenly you're looking at a very dangerous forward line. It's going to be very interesting to see if they move the ball quicker because I feel like that's the next stage for the natural thing to do when you watch is play at speed, when you look at how their list is formulated. Suddenly now all the recruits indicate that. I'm very intrigued to see. And then Essendon, everyone jokes that they're the pre-season the pre-season champions. Now we get to see him. It's going to be very interesting because you've got Xavier Dersma there already. So Xavier Dersma and Nick Martin suddenly make that wing very, very potent. Todd Goldstein, I feel like helps out, gives some reliability. And Jay Gresham is definitely one that I'm really looking at there because suddenly they've got a little bit of class. It's going to be interesting how this goes because you've got a lot of talk about their young players and how they're going to go, Harry Jones and players like that. This is going to be, for me, the big one with Essendon. They really did cement themselves as a very dangerous inside team, very hard to beat in the midfield. They've got a good structure there. Now it's adding that layers to really punish teams, really be able to get the ball from midfield to forward quickly and really hurt teams. And that's going to be one that I'm really looking for. Carl Langford again stood out in the pre-season games, the scratch match. For me, one of the most underrated players in the AFL, and I'm very excited about seeing his development and having more of a senior role in this. This is an intriguing game here because I'd say these are two teams that a lot of people have entering, dropping out of the 8. So already we can see here both sides, if there's a noticeable flux in how they played last year, I think the excitement will fly. The excitement will fly. Then we go to Alberton, Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. And this game in itself for me is very exciting just to get a feel for, because Adelaide and Port are probably two of the teams that have been talked about more than any other teams. Port, obviously, can they keep doing the double chance finals? Adelaide, can they do it? And I feel like there's a lot of opportunities here. There's a lot of opportunities. With Rory Sloan playing at halfback, Josh Rochelle moving into the midfield, that makes sense because I feel like Rory Sloan could have the success that Scott Pendlebury had off at halfback. They've got a lot of zip off halfback. I don't feel like they have at times that slow-moving reliability player. And that could be really, really, really intriguing. Elliot Himmelberg moving down the back is intriguing as well. A big, rambustious key defender. I feel like that's what they're lacking. And suddenly, I think with Nick Murray out, then Tom Doedee at Brisbane, this could be an opportunity because I think Elliot Himmelberg has got a solid pair of hands. And that's going to be really intriguing working with the Adelaide backline, which I really like. Suddenly, it turns me on a little bit. Dan Curtin is definitely a player that I'm looking for. Their transition game suddenly is splendid. And Luke Pedler has been talked about all the time along with Zach Taylor. These are two players that I'm very excited about. Incredibly talented, incredibly quick, incredibly intelligent players. Suddenly that Adelaide for me played probably the most sexiest game style to watch. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that works because suddenly they're in the mix. They are in the mix. I know people are not excited about them or they're either very excited about them. That's going to be intriguing. Port Adelaide, for me, I feel like they need to add something. You know what you're going to get from them, and they've gone crazy on key defenders. That's going to be very intriguing. Ivan Solder, obviously, is going to be very interesting there as well. No Charlie Dixon, so obviously that forward line is going to be the big, big question mark. You've also got the back. You've got Zerk Thatcher and you've got Ratikalia. That's going to be very interesting as well. Great to hear Ollie Wines is back on the ball. But Tom Cleary, it's going to be very interesting, right? With Tom Cleary being playing on the wing, that's going to be obviously, you know, they're a little bit smarter than the average bear. It gives you something to kick out to. That is going to be very intriguing to see what happens there. Because when you see it in the AFL, where we do like this tall winger, it is niche. The guy that I'm really excited about seeing though is, and I can't wait to see this, is Jace Burgoyne. Everyone's talked about how much muscle he's put on. He's got an incredible engine. He's got an incredible engine. They're giving him the number 7. I feel like this could be that added dimension in that Port side. Really looking forward to seeing what happens here. And this is going to be an intriguing game because I feel like there's a lot of questions about Port Adelaide. And we're going to see it because obviously they've been rolling the changes just quietly in the off-season in personnel and positional changes. That should be exciting. The Eagles round us up playing Fremantle. And obviously the big talk is Harley Reid. Been playing off halfback. I'm expecting Harry Sheezel-like numbers from him. He will definitely get a lot of ball. And it's going to be interesting how he links up with Jaden Hunt, Tom Barras and players like that, because suddenly there's a lot of backline and ball winners down there. There's never really been that niche player getting the ball out there, and that is Harley Reid's strength. That could be intriguing. I'm looking forward to seeing Tyler Brockman and Noah Long. I feel like they're going to be the future of this and really add some skill level and maybe surprise a few teams. But also Matty Flynn, I feel like they've got the ruckman there. Matty Flynn, for me, one of the most unlucky players in AFL, not getting the chance and just being jettisoned as he was. I feel like he's always solid when he plays. Fremantle, I'm really looking forward to this, to see Nat Fyfe back in the midfield where he belongs. That really does excite me. I'm always loved Nat Fyfe, one of my favourite players to watch. Can't wait to see how he goes at Fremantle. Got less work to do now that their midfield with Sarong and co has been so strong. Feel like he could be just that missing ingredient. We saw the resurgence of Ollie Wines in Port when he won a couple of years ago. Feel like this could be the other one. And the big one I'm looking for is Jaya Miss and Josh Tracy. How that combines. How that combines up forward. I think suddenly you've got a forward line here that could do some damage. And I'm looking forward to seeing this game because this is a good little match simulation. Looking forward to these games. We'll be live for a couple of them. Stay tuned for that. Can't wait to follow that, and we can do some little analysis of what we learned. Which game are you looking forward to? What are your question marks going into the first scratch match? Much love. Peace, love and light. Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad.